On September 16th, 1911, at the Royal Agricultural Showground, two teams met to determine who takes out the season premiership, Eastern Suburbs and Glebe. Eastern Suburbs would win the match and the premiership, defeating Glebe 11 points to 8 in an entertaining affair. On the field that day was some of the most famous men to ever play the game. McIvert, Burge, Pearce, Messenger. But one player that day would go on not to a life of fame and fortune, but a life of crime and infamy. Fast forward to the evening of November 9th, 1929. Bernard Hugh Dalton, known as Barney, exited the Strand Hotel on Crown Street, Woolloomooloo, alongside his associates, Walter Tomlinson and Edward Brady, all prominent members of the infamous Kate Leigh Razor Gang. As they traversed the dimly lit sidewalks, an enraged assailant abruptly confronted them, shouting, "Cop this, you bastard!" He unleashes 5 shots at the group, hitting Barney in the chest, causing him to collapse onto the pavement. Tomlinson rushed to his aid, but was hit twice himself, while Brady suffered a hand injury. The gunman, identified by an L-shaped scar on his cheek, fled the scene after discarding his revolver in a nearby yard, disappearing back into Sydney's criminal underbelly. And so, ended the life and career of rugby league's most infamous figure. Barney Dalton wasn't always the formidable figure known for his associations with Sydney's ruthless razor gangs. He initially made his mark as a rugby league pioneer, becoming the 43rd player to represent the Eastern Suburbs club when he made his debut in 1910. He played alongside older brother William Billy Dalton during 1911 and 1912, before Bill completed his career with Glebe in 1914. Dalton was part of the East team that secured its first premiership in 1911 and followed it up with a second title in 1912, after which he took a break from the game in 1913. Like many players of the day, Barney also dabbled in boxing and was known to train at Pat Kieran's gym, sparring with various fighters. This penchant for combat was no surprise to his teammates and rivals, as a match report from the Sydney Sportsman in 1912 documented an on-field altercation between Dalton and Owen McCarthy of South Sydney. Despite Dalton playing as a back and McCarthy as a second rower, the two faced off in an intense brawl that ultimately led to both players being sent off the field. After a one-year hiatus, he returned to rugby league in 1914, winning City Cups with East that year, and again in 1915. The lanky winger scored 16 tries in 61 matches for the Tricolours, but at the age of just 23, he walked away from the game. It's not entirely clear when Dalton joined Kate Leigh's gang, but a column that appeared in the newspaper The Labour Daily in 1929, following his death, stated that Dalton was feared by gangs. He'd earned a reputation for defending small bookmakers and successful punters at racetracks. It was reported at the time that racecourse gangs would target the smaller bookmakers or individual punters and ask for $1. If they refused, the gangs would simply say, "We'll see you outside." This usually resulted in the victim being attacked, sometimes with a razor, and the police being unable to pursue those responsible, as no one wished to testify. Dalton was approached by these bookmakers and punters for protection, and had a tough enough reputation that he'd tell the gangs to let up, and if they didn't, he would take a hand. According to the columnist, most of these racecourse gangs took the warning and stayed away from anyone associated with Dalton. A report in the Sydney Morning Herald in 1924 stated he was arrested and charged with using indecent language and for being in possession of a revolver without a licence. The gun had fallen out of his pocket when he was doing cartwheels as a linesman for a local football match. It's likely that he was a member of Kate Leigh's gang before this incident, given he would otherwise had no need to be carrying an illegal firearm. The shooting of Dalton was thought to be a revenge attack on Walter Tomlinson for a shooting attack on Tilly Devine associates Frank Green and Sid McDonald by Kate Leigh enforcer Greg Gaffney. Barney Dalton was just 38 years old when he was killed. His funeral, held at St Mary's Cathedral, was attended by more than 200 people, many of whom wept openly. His wife maintained he wasn't a gang member, but was a good man, with the couple set to embark on a fishing trip the day he was murdered. Dalton, though, was known throughout the underworld. He guarded grog shops, was Leigh's bodyguard, and sold cocaine for her, among the usual things an enforcer does, including doling out beatings, slashings, and shootings. He was buried here at Botany Cemetery, in the old Roman Catholic section. Larry Ryder, author of the book Razor, Tilly Devine, Kate Leigh and the Razor Gangs, once said that Dalton often committed these crimes wearing his old eastern suburbs tricolours jumper. An interesting side note to this story, Frank Green, the man most experts agree to have been the shooter that fateful night, rests just metres away from his victim, having his ashes scattered in Rose Garden S2 after meeting his own grisly death years later. If you're interested in the Razor Gangs, I produced a grave tour video of some of the biggest names of the Razor Wars on my other channel, Famous Graves Down Under. I'll leave a link in the description for those who might like to check it out. But for now, until next time, leave your thoughts in the comments below regarding Barney's story. Subscribe for more rugby league content, and thanks for watching.